Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Be Open and Authentic with Rohit. Today we have Belinda with us, who is coming off of a fresh seed round raise, and with a lot of experience and expertise in sales and marketing. So today I want to capture as much knowledge as possible when it comes to the sales and marketing, and also want to gain insights into how the seed round went, or what they have done very uniquely at Hubble IQ, so that they had a successful seed round and a serious growth as well. So I'll be talking all lot more information and details as we move further. Cool. Firstly, I would like to thank Belinda for taking the time to be with me on the show today. I know you are handling a lot of things, and it's a very stressful time, and I'm sure you're tired for the day because we're almost at the end of the day. Thanks for your time, Belinda.
I am happy to be here. This is definitely a great opportunity. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure. Thank you. Belinda, can you start with a little introduction about yourself and your experience so far on a high level?
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. Hi, everybody. My name is Belinda Batdorf, and I'm the co-founder for Hubble IQ. Hubble IQ is a software platform for employee digital experience management. We help organizations manage remote technology that employees rely on effectively and easily. I was born and raised in Lusaka, Zambia. So I am Zambian American. And my entrepreneurship journey started there. Wow. I come from a long line of strong women, my strong entrepreneur women. My grandmother used to sell at a market. And then she ended up building a business, a transportation business, and had local buses running.
Nice.
And then my mother used to be a legal aid and secretary for a law firm. And she ended up building a hospitality business. So I feel like it's sort of always been in my blood. So when I was 19 years old, I saw all these strong women in my family, and I'd gone to school. I started working. I took a month off work, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I want to do something. And I realized that there was lack of industrialization in Zambia. Well, opportunity for import. And I saw some of the ladies doing it. Well, you know what I did? I saved up all my money. Mm-hmm. And I got on a bus for 2 nights to Johannesburg, South Africa. And I started importing goods for sale. In addition to that, I started getting on a train to Dar es Salaam, which is a port in Tanzania. And this train ride was just terrible. The train was called Tazara. And I would get on this train, but I knew there were cheaper goods there that I could bring in to sell. And I started my entrepreneurship journey then. Fast forward, I moved to the United States. I initially worked for a television station, believe it or not, in Minnesota, where it was very, very cold. My U.S. television debut was starring in those local commercials with very bad acting. I was the bad actor. Shaking my head, shaking my hands. Yeah. And then I moved to Silicon Valley from Minnesota because it was very cold. I got into tech, and I really found my place. Wow. I loved it. I started working for telecom providers, specializing mostly in data centers. I worked for Charter Communications, Spectrum. And then, what I loved about that business was actually helping clients build data centers. So an opportunity came up to getting into cloud computing and to specialize in IT managed services. So I joined another company called Navisite. And there I helped IT managers build physical data centers, cloud data centers at that point, building applications on top of, the servers and then services. So I've been in tech most of my career working with IT managers.
Wow, that's nice. Cool. So, wait, I'm still trying to comprehend, because I've been thinking that, I have like my own unique journey, but I think yours seems to be, a whole lot more interesting, because you were in Zambia, yeah, and you are coming from a, great family with very, entrepreneurial mindset, and who have their own businesses, right? So, which is great. And like, when you were doing your own startup gigs, traveling to South Africa, Tanzania, so, and then when did you decide, or at what point you made a move to US? Like, what was your thought process, and why did you make that move to US?
I moved to the United States because of a boy. My husband, making the story interesting, was serving in the Peace Corps in Zambia. So that's how we met. He lived in Zambia for 5 years. We dated, and at some point, he then ended up getting contracts with UNHCR, trainer with the Peace Corps, because we were so young and we didn't want to make a commitment, in terms of like taking the big leap of what are we going to do. So we extended that as long as we could, finally, being this an international couple, we had to make a decision what are we going to do? Are we going to stay here, or are we going to go to the United States? And so we decided, okay, our goal was to always come to the United States and then go back and work in the NGO world, work for, non-government organizations. So, but, we came here, life happens, and we ended up staying.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And other pattern that I observed with many people who come to US, even though if they don't want to go, I think they just, find, they're just stuck here for so many good reasons, though. So, that's
I have
interesting.
to tell you, one of the reasons why we stayed was my husband was like, okay, maybe I should apply to the State Department, but he was a Peace Corps volunteer, and then he wanted to apply to the State Department, and he didn't make it through those exams. That was going to be a good way for us to go international, work for the State Department, and maybe transition into the NGO. So that didn't happen, and we just decided, okay, let's just go back to school and take that route.
Yes, interesting. So then how did you end up in acting in Minnesota? And then once you are done with acting, like what made you move to Silicon Valley, and how did you transition to tech? These are like, I'm just trying to connect all the dots and your thought process here, because it's very unique.
Yeah, there's a connection. I was actually not necessarily acting. I was doing advertising, television advertising sales. So I was an account manager and I was selling television commercials. So it was still sales. And my background at that point from Zambia is actually selling and sales management and advertising. So it was sort of like a natural thing for me to go into something like that. And, the acting part just happened accidentally because actors wouldn't show up. Then I knew the script, so then I would just fill in for them. Sure. Because obviously I wanted to make that commission, and you got to do what you got to do, and we need to shoot the commercial before news time and edit it. So I ended up being in commercials that way, but that's not my expertise. I'm probably a horrible actor. And then, we always knew Minnesota was a pit stop for us. It was school, right? And then my husband was going to school at that point. I ended up going to school later. And then we ended up moving to California. California chose us because the job opened up and we moved to California. I worked for a gentleman briefly in advertising who was in tech. He had taken a break. He told me, he's like, you belong in tech. You got to get in. Yeah. And so he moved, went back to telecom. He called me, and that was my first dabble into technology. And I was in the, at that point, technology companies had huge training centers. Yeah. Maybe I'm telling on my age, but I think there was a big gap in skills. Yep. And so they were training people. So I was in a cohort that they sent over to go to train in Denver at a huge training center in Lakeside. This was Quest Communications at that point. And I loved all of it. So I knew I found my place. Other people were freaking out. I was just like, oh man, this is my place. And that was my start.
Cool. So that's the real start to technology and sales, which is very challenging. I'll talk more about it soon. So then how did the first startup happen, or like when did you because if you're working for a big companies or tech companies in Silicon Valley, and the pay is shiny, and but you may have I think the great startup culture there. Just wondering how you're hooked up with this startup ecosystem.
I always knew I wanted to do something on my own. I'd worked in tech and for corporate for so long. We'd set ourselves financially to a point where I could take some risks. And, an opportunity came up where my friends, networking, I'd been talking about my need to just start something on my own. And my husband's boss at that time was friends with another gentleman that was just beginning a startup. And he introduced us and said, I think you guys would do well together. Why don't you talk about the startup and figure it out? And the startup was mainly, it was an IT services marketplace, which fit me perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been in IT managed services.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like a perfect opportunity for me. And I left my job and just jumped in.
Wow. Okay. So, one other pattern that I've been, observed was, there are, many doors open for you, but every time, you were there, you showed up, and then you are grabbing this up. You grabbed all the opportunity, and went all in. I think which is a lesson right there itself. Cool. And how was your first startup experience, by the way?
Let me tell you, coming from corporate, where everything is provided for you, all the tools, it was actually a hard transition. Startups, they're all about using a lot of, free software. You're trying to save money, and I wasn't used to that. I was used to this enterprise grade things that I had to learn everything. Where I worked at that point, we didn't even have Slack. We didn't even use Slack.
Oof.
Which is funny. And, Slack is easy, obviously, to figure out, but, there's Jira, there's Confluence, there's all these things that you use in a startup world that you don't. So it was not an easy one. Also, selling, you're in a startup, you're doing everything. You don't have leads coming in from marketing, right? And so you really have to be self-driven and motivated to do that. It's almost like running your own business, really. And so it's definitely not an easy transition, but I think if you have the passion and you have an entrepreneur mindset, I think that's very important. You can do it, because it's you just have to think you're running your own business, and running your own business, you have to wear many hats. You have to be flexible. You have to know that things aren't going to work, and it's going to be challenging.
For sure. Yeah, because I can totally see the pain point being in corporate, right? Because now we don't realize all the luxury we have until it's gone, right? And the other part is, we can't complain. Even if we complain, we are the other person to listen to and solve the problem, right? No one is going to solve for us. But the key point that you mentioned is the passion and the mindset to solve, to wake up every day and, just have another horrible day because, you have to get your own leads, convert them into sale, which is very, in my opinion, I think which is very awkward and also challenging, because normally if you get the lead, then you are in a very good position to, approach the sale. But if you are the one generating lead and also going for the sale, I think that whole process, I think it's a bit of a stretch in my opinion. What's your take on it?
I agree. I mean, it's the awkwardness is never ending. When you're when you're starting, you try to figure out, okay, where can I tap first? You go back to your experience in corporate, which some of it does translate. What I think sometimes is your wealth is your network. Oh my goodness, keep those clients close. Your network is golden when you're starting a company, and it's not easy. The awkwardness comes in. You're calling them, trying to beg them to see your product. It's not easy. But I think if you have those good relationships to where you've helped them through tough times, they're going to be there for you. At the very least, they're going to help you in the product development part where you vet your product. You're creating a product. Now you have, people that can help you, actual users that can say, I don't know about this feature. So we did a lot of that. We called in my network. We were like, okay, we're building this feature. What do you think? So there was a lot of involvement from IT connections that I've had in the past.
Gotcha. So, so there is that always, awkwardness all the time. So you just have to accept it. But I think the crucial point is, developing the network and tapping onto, being able to tap onto them whenever you need. Because, it doesn't matter if you just have network and you can't tap onto them. And you can't really tap onto them unless you had some sort of strong relation, right? So I think nurturing the relationship in the network is also very crucial because, I may have 100 connections, great, who are VPs or, CEOs at companies. But, if I can't just go make a sale or, I can't ask for any help unless, because, if that is my, if I don't have working relation or if I don't have some sort of strong connection, right? So I think proactively finding a way to nurture the relationship in a way that you can tap onto it whenever you need, I think is also very crucial, right?
It really is. And it goes to really say that, work, it's business, it's solving their needs, but they're also people.
Yeah.
And I think if you create those relationships, they come back, they consider you an ally, a friend, and everybody's willing to help a friend. So I always approached, my clients through my entire career. I had their best interest, right? And so I advocated for them strongly within the businesses that I worked for. I knew, obviously, it is still a business, but I always had very, very authentic and honest conversations with my clients. And I think they really trusted me, which helped us create those good relationships that I could now bring over to the startups.
Great. I think that's a great lesson. Helping, working in the best interests of clients and, with anyone in your network, I think, which is a very key to maintain that relationship and get help as needed. Particularly if you're in a startup ecosystem, this is gonna, this is a very valuable lesson. Thanks for sharing it. That's very helpful. So,
sure.
and want to, since before moving, I want to really get into Hubble IQ, but, just trying to understand, I see you moved on from your previous, or the first startup that you worked with to Hubble IQ, right? So if you can, can you share a little more experience, with the startup, what happened in the sense, not trying to get into any personal details, but just want to understand, what was your thought process for, quitting it and making, deciding to make a move? Because, in my personal experience, if you are within a startup or if you are hooked up to one, right, it's really hard to, make a move because you put your blood into it, right? There is just, you are pretty much connected to it in many ways. So it's very emotional and, not letting it go also means that you are letting a lot of hard work go to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So what was your thought process and why did you make that move?
It was definitely a hard decision. We worked for so long, put in so much work, like you said, money. It's tough. It wasn't an easy decision. However, Kayvon and I met at that startup. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I don't know that.
And for the audience, Kayvon is the other co-founder of Hubble IQ. And that's how we met. So although that didn't work out, it created a link for us to start Hubble IQ. There were 3 co-founders, and Kevin and I were just very in sync in how we work, strategy, how we wanted to execute. It was very easy for us. And as much as I loved working for the other company, I related more to the problem that was solving now. And I knew I would add more value here than there. I think I knew that, I had done what I could there. I had to come to that decision on my own and come to a place where I knew I could add more value and actually, do better.
Yep.
I think as a remote worker, I worked from home most of my career. And I also worked with IT managers or IT organizations, as I'd mentioned. And then also having been from Zambia, digital opportunities are important. So
Sure.
Starting Hubble IQ was a little bit bigger than just, hey, we want to start a startup and make a lot of money. Yeah, that's great. But the mission is also big.
Yep.
I, being from Zambia, I understand the importance of digital opportunities, right?
Yep.
They are not a lot of, say, for example, economic opportunities like call centers in Zambia because of why? Infrastructure, connectivity issues, all of that stuff. So I knew, creating a product that actually impacts that positively, was something I was more passionate about and more mission oriented for me than, the other companies. So this is more near and dear to my heart, and I'm very passionate about it. And then the other thing is, Kevin and I worked really, really well together. I knew that we would be the type of founders that can weather storms. And we all know, being co-founders is not an easy thing.
Yep.
You don't agree on everything. And so having a founder that, you can rely on and, they see you and you can clash and have creative differences, but then come together and know that your goals are the same is very important.
Agreed. Cool. So it's more of, founding a better mission and passion and a person to work with. So which are led to, make a move.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I think it's also very important when to make a move, right? Because you can always hang on to the idea, and sometimes hanging on to the idea is what you need. You never know. But I think you have to consider all the other data points, such as, having, good relations with co-founders or the team and maybe finding, better mission. So I see how you use the data to, make a move. That's interesting. Cool. Thanks for I know.
Timing.
Yep.
Timing was a big thing, right? We knew that we started Hubble IQ right before the pandemic hit. We saw that remote work was on the rise, right? Of course, nobody would predict the pandemic, but it was going to be then. We needed to do it then. So I couldn't wait and be like, okay, I'm going to wait. And I just had to make that decision and have the conviction to move forward.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I really want to get into. I can't emphasize enough the importance of timing, because there are so many products, which beat the competition, even though the competitive products had like super, great technology. It just the right timing is very important for a company. I mean, we can't obviously predict it, right? The timing, it just has to work out. Maybe the conviction or intuition, whatever we may call it. But want to, understand why or how you started Hubble IQ right before the pandemic. Because, this is really the pandemic type of company, right? So where you see the need, because I'm working remotely, you see the need. If I'm going to office every day, or if many people are going to office every day, I wouldn't think of this idea. I wouldn't even call this future of work a big thing, because it's just a regular thing back then, good old days, right? So, but how did you come up with this idea, and what made you to work on this right before the pandemic?
we knew remote work was on the rise. I mean, the data, we followed the data. We could see, and we could see that there was more flexibility anyway within companies. More and more people were working from home. Managers were getting a little bit used to it. But I cannot sit here and tell you that we could have predicted the huge shift that happened after. No way. I mean, that was just, I don't know, luck.
Yeah.
I mean, luck and not luck, because it was the pandemic is a bad thing. But, the timing of us starting right before, we couldn't have predicted what happened. It was an awful, awful thing. It did provide opportunity for us to sort of help the world navigate this new, environment. As people were working from home, we knew that we could help them with the software that we just started building. And it was very new at that point. Yeah. We had put out a free Chrome extension on the Chrome store just to experiment at that point, right before the pandemic. We didn't see that. And we had a few hundred people on that downloaded it. But then everybody went remote, and we had just thousands and thousands of downloads. At that point, within like 3 months. Gotcha. And so we knew we were onto something, and that was sort of like our market test to see, okay, is this needed? And when, out of those free users, we started getting businesses contacting us saying, hey, we want a back end. I want to have a dashboard where I can see this type of data for my entire company. So we really started building Hubble IQ based on customer feedback and what they wanted. And that's how Hubble IQ was born. At that point, we weren't sure if we were going to be a B2C or a B2B, right? Company. We were still trying to figure it out. Are we just going to help remote workers at that point? Because not a lot of people were working from home, although there were enough people working from home to be a pretty big market for us who were fending for themselves. We couldn't have predicted that companies were going to care so much about it, which now led to the B2B because the world just shifted.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, experimenting with the Chrome extension or trying to identify the product market fit is, I think, has added a great value to you, right? Because I mean, I think that really gave you what customers needed, and then eventually you found the product market fit, and then decide that, hey, I really want to be the B2B company, which makes more sense because every company needs a remote tech support. Definitely. Right. Okay. That's interesting. And I like this, way of experimentation as well. I haven't thought about it, or I haven't seen anyone doing this. I mean, maybe my experience is narrow, I guess, but yeah, I like this approach. And what is your experience with, product market fit in the sense, what kind of experimentation do you suggest, or for any new startup, and what can you explain the importance of product market fit and how one can find it?
I would say product market fit is a difficult thing for any startup. Yep. It is hard. I cannot even sit here and tell you that we've completely cracked the code. I think we're still sort of experimenting with that. We feel we're pretty close, but if we get there, we're going to be having a whole different conversation as I'm sitting here. I mean, we just got our seed money, so we're doing a lot of. We've really just amped up a lot of marketing, and really restructuring our go-to-market plan, because before, when you're bootstrapping, it's very different. Right? You're barely making it, you're really just, you're just a resource constraint. Now that we have some money, and we just got the money like a month ago, we're now re-strategizing on how we can really, really get those signals. We have customers, right? Don't get me wrong. All of our customers fit a certain profile, but they're also, they've come from different industries. We've had a school, 15,000 school, charter school. Yep. We've had marketing agencies, but what we've seen lately, ISPs, is over the last month, though, we are getting signals from a specific company. So we're really trying to tap into that and figure out, is this it? We're seeing some commonality, and part of it is we're getting companies are coming to us for remote technology onboarding for their remote workers. They hire somebody, they want to make sure that they're set up well. Is your internet going to work well? Some companies have BYOD. Is their computer good enough to where they can run the company's applications?
Yep.
And also application performance. We've gotten quite a few that are coming in, and we're seeing that some of them are coming from contact centers, because their agents are remote. Yep. And they're working from different parts of the country. Those are unique environments digitally that they're working from. If they're not providing the computer, but then yet they're requiring them to access certain applications, the computer has to be a certain, standard. And so there are these digital policies that they're putting in place. Like, this is the minimum you could have in terms of a device and network and all that stuff. And they're coming to us for help. Yep. And obviously continuously supporting those remote workers so they can be productive. So product market fit is hard. I mean, maybe that was a long story.
No, it's
short, but it's.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. It's an ongoing thing, right? So you have to understand how your product is maturing, where you are, getting the traction from. And I think you probably have to, use your instinct to tap onto which market you really want to go after, because, there can be many shiny things, but not everything can be, not everything has a value, right? And which is, right. I want to ask this question, right? So if let's say you want to, go after this contact center or like some other, after some companies, they may have, a whole different way of, requirements that your product may not yet have. And you have to build those for them. But it also means that you are deviating from, your current goals and path. But if they're big enough, maybe it totally makes sense. But how do you make that call of, building those specific features for them? Or how do you know that, that is something that maybe you have, that leads you to product market fit? So how do you make that call?
It's such a great question, because we're knee deep in that right now. Because we do know if we really anchor in a certain vertical industry, other features, in order for us to be more valuable, we may have to build out, right? And so I feel like we need more signals. I think you just need to validate those signals before you start building those features that may not be relevant for other industries, right? And so there's no secret sauce. I think you just have to immerse yourself in that industry. If you have contacts, we're talking to people that are in that industry to validate. I just came from a conference, Contact Center Week in Nashville, literally immersed in the industry to try and figure this out. We also have, a marketing agency that we're using to do some experimentation with the contact center industry. So we're using multiple, and we also have contacts, like a consultant who we knew from our network that, we're tapping into to do some research for us, and also just get some customers so we can see what really matters, to them, get more customers so we can begin to understand what they need. And if we see the signals repeating themselves in terms of, clients coming to us, I think it'll be clear that this is where we want to be. The market is huge for contact centers. I mean, look at companies like Genesis, 8x8, right? That's billions of dollars. So, hey, if that's our product market fit, I would love it, because they have a lot of issues in that industry. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they have 30 to 40% employee churn in contact centers, which is crazy. 30 to 40%. Efficiency problems and, engagement. They're always trying to improve customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction. And our product, Hubble IQ, can literally touch a lot of those problems. So theoretically, we can see it. We do have a few customers that are actually benefiting, and we are tapping into that and trying to see if this is where we go. And I'll tell you, the signals are really good. I'm being a little coy right now because I don't want to say, hey, we found it. Because, we just partnered with Genesis. They adopted us as one of their Foundry partners. So we're going through integration discussions with Genesis. So their salespeople are the ones that are going to go to market. And, we're going to be a line item on their on their products. So we're very, very excited about that. And then we're exploring channel with other tech providers in the industry, Life Size, 8x8, Ring Central. So we're also looking at that because we enhance those products. Obviously, as they go to market, they want to add more value to their customers. And Hubble IQ is able to do that because we're extending their services to, the remote agents experience.
Gotcha. Cool. And by the way, congrats on the Genesis contract or the partnership. And I am sure many more to come, because I can totally see that it fits that line of business. But obviously, you need, if I cannot just speak, or I still have, I may not have all the data points to make that call, but And I also like your thought process, right? Finding a way to get more and more signals, to validate, hey, this is probably it. But I think we got to be really cautious, I think, which is what you guys are doing. That's very good. Thanks for sharing all this information. So, and now I want to really get into the core part of this podcast, and we are more than halfway through it. But yeah, just want to really get into the sales and marketing part of a startup, right? And just clearly want to understand how you set up the marketing strategy for Hubble IQ, and also the sales strategy. So I'm sure a lot of your experience played a role in it. So, but for example, if I don't have, or if many founders doesn't have, that sort of experience, what can we learn from what you've done is what I'm really trying to take away from this. But we can just start it with a simple, question of how did you do it for, Hubble IQ?
Well, I would say that, coming in with that entrepreneur background and, from Zambia and that drive, it really did help. And then getting, obviously, all the skills that I did and the network from my past corporate jobs helped set me up. Yeah. When you're starting a product that's new, that has, nobody has tried, there's no secret sauce but to just go out there and validate what you're doing with your network. That's where you start. Those are friendlies. They can give you a lot of input, or they can introduce you to somebody, right, that may need the product. So my strategy was really immediate, to go with my immediate connections, and as I mentioned earlier, I believe that really helped us in validating the problem with the audience that we were going to target with this. But then also, it got us those first tests, and we learned a lot. Even if they're not buying, you learn a lot.
Yep.
And then once you learn a lot, you get more confident in going out and speaking to other people about it. There's no, secret sauce, but just hard work. I created lists. LinkedIn is your friend.
Yep.
If you have an idea of what you're building, LinkedIn is your friend because it allows you to be more targeted. If you don't have a connection, not everybody does. You go through the connection, maybe nobody's responding, validate it. I just reached out to people and said, hey, I am building this. We are building this. We want your feedback. And people love to help, believe it or not.
Yep.
And they will give you a meeting and you're going to talk to them. And, from there, you could find, your first early adopter. You need those. And that's very, very important. Once you start getting those paying customers, one of the things that I did was every single customer that we got, we had them, obviously they were not paying us a lot because we just needed for them to sign and pay us something, but they agreed to be a reference. And they agreed to be part of our marketing. We could use their logo. We negotiated that. Okay, just pay us this much, but we want to use you for our marketing purposes as well. And they agreed. So that was very helpful for us to get credibility in the market and use them as references, use their logos. It was helpful for us to go after the next client and the next client. So make those lists. There's no secret sauce that somebody's gonna do it for you. Nobody's gonna do it for you. You have to do it yourself. I don't know how many emails I've sent, how many, not a lot of phone calls because it was COVID and people were not in the offices, but maybe the very close personal contacts I did. But a lot of emails, a lot of messaging, a lot of Zooms, some things gotta give. And through that, even if some were like, no, it's not right for me, I was learning and I was getting better and better at messaging. I was getting better at understanding what they need and getting closer and closer to that first sale until obviously that sale happened.
Cool. And once the first sale happened, then you used it to your advantage to negotiate, to get the credibility using the logo. And then you reached out to other clients and then the list grew up from there, right? Yeah.
Cool. You have to. Get those logos, get them to agree, because that's important. It's interesting. During the pandemic, a school came to us that I mentioned, we're allowed to use their name. They're called Achievement First. And they were struggling because all the kids went remote, mostly Black and brown, charter school, 15,000 students, new Chromebooks, MiFis, and lots of issues that they wanted to manage. They wanted to make sure that these kids were able to sort of be supported. He now had the visibility to see who was struggling, what they were struggling with, right? Yeah. Was it the device network and all of that stuff? But then in addition to that, self-service for the family. Some of these families, it was the first time they've had a computer in their home. They didn't know how to navigate that. We're in Silicon Valley. We may be able to do that. But guess what? We're a small percentage of the world. Of the world. A lot of people don't know how to do that. Yeah. And so we simplified our agent to where we were testing it on our kids to say, hey, do you understand this? And they did. They could navigate some of those tech issues. And so we provide self-service to the end users as well. So they are the first line of defense, so they can solve some of those easy problems on their own before and mitigates all those unnecessary tickets going to IT. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So, once you have a customer and then, finding a way to work with them and solve all those problems is great. And the other thing that I, observed in this conversation was, you have to, be out there and experiment, right, to validate the idea. Or, once you validate the idea, you gain the confidence. And also, during that process, you are also gaining those referrals, right? If you're talking to person and, if you're reaching out to many people and if you're, constantly out there to communicate, the fact that many people can, wants to help is so true. And then, if you just use it to your advantage. I mean, not obviously not to exploit, but get as much as help we can, and then get those referrals. Be out there talking to people, and somehow or some or the other way, you will get the first sale, right? So there is
sure.
there is no other secret sauce. So it just be out there.
There is no other secret sauce.
Yep.
And then I think what I forgot to mention with this other client, they referenced us in podcasts.
Yeah, I listened.
I was able to. Yeah, they referenced us in a podcast. He had interviews where he was talking about us in the toolkit that it was using for remote technology management. I asked him I wrote down some questions and interview questions, and so that he could respond and we could write a case study. He responded in audio, which was amazing. We were able to put it on YouTube, on our social. Yeah. So just ask. They will help you.
Cool. That's a very good lesson. And many people tend to ignore. Many people shy away from asking help or reaching out. Particularly people in tech, right? Technology. They don't tap onto the people. Not many people tap onto the people for help. Mm-hmm. It's such a closed world in my opinion, or at least based on my experience. So and then the other tool is LinkedIn. Just find a way to use LinkedIn as much as you can. Particularly if you know what you're building, if you know the customer base, I think LinkedIn is a great tool where you can just keep reaching out to the people, and then you get all those very valuable contacts and signals, particularly, right? That's cool. And sorry, go ahead.
And Rohit, guess what? Even if you don't know, LinkedIn will help you, because if you don't know, you think it's this persona within a company, you reach out to them, Sales Navigator is a great tool that I use all the time. LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Gotcha. You create a list, based on a persona that you think they'll like your product, and you reach out to them. You see how many people respond, and then you create different persona lists, and you start going through. You start seeing a pattern. You can actually find out that way, even when you're not sure. When we were starting, we weren't sure who cared about this as much. We had an idea, it's IT.
Yeah.
But guess who else is responsible for employee experience? HR.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I think right now there's a big movement, and I've been reading a lot of articles about this, for HR and IT to merge and do more work together. Because remote happened, employee experience is under HR, but then technology is under IT.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit, even right now, it's something that businesses are trying to solve. And I've been reading a lot of articles where HR people now have to go to tech conferences. Yeah. And to figure this out. And there's been an emergence of titles right now that are digital employee experience titles, specifically because it's a validation that this problem is there and it's big. Exactly. When companies are hiring people specifically to deal with this problem, it tells you it's a problem.
Yep. And I can totally, being in corporate tech, I can totally see why that is very important. And now it also feels silly that we haven't thought about it much earlier. I think tech and HR always meant to work together, but there is so much disparity. And with COVID, it even the gap is too big. But I can totally relate. And I'm sure, I think, so you mentioned, LinkedIn Sales Navigator to find or define the personas, right? I think gather the data and know how people are responding or who are responding, and then build a persona around those signals. I think that's pretty cool. And what are the other tools that you use for cold reachings or in the sales process? Even at Hubble IQ or even earlier in your tech companies?
Yeah. To be honest, for me, LinkedIn is huge.
Yep.
I'm advertising for them. Hi, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is huge because you don't need to have, initially when you don't have money or bootstrapping, you don't need to have and you're B2B,
Yeah.
a lot of money. I mean, Sales Navigator is $79 a month.
Yeah.
And I think you're allowed a certain number of connections, and you just go for it. And then there's also LinkedIn marketing, which is very intuitive that you can use. The campaign manager, I think it's called. And you can experiment and see as well. You can do ads. You can limit how much money you're spending. You can limit it to $100 a day, $50 a day. You can do a lot of experimentation on your own without even having like a whole marketing degree, because it's very intuitive. And it gives you a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. At least when you start spending some money, you're spending it in the right place. You have an idea who your persona is. Yeah. You kind of have an idea what's resonating with them in terms of messaging. So it really just helps you get a little better. So for me, LinkedIn is huge. And from there, when you get friendly and connections, they'll give you their phone number.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's Zoom. Yeah. We experimented before very briefly, not even much, with a software. We hired this company that was like dialing, and then they would set up the leads, appointments for us. But our lesson from that was nobody's in the office, and a lot of these lists are outdated. Yeah. So you buy these lists. We bought a list. We tried it. So we were trying a lot of, some of these experimentations, and we bought a list. And then we gave the list. We knew the persona at that point from the experimentation. We bought a list of, the audience, and then we had some verticals that we had signals, and we got this software with an SDR at the end of it with a script. It didn't work out very well. Yeah. Because people were just not in the office. They were getting a lot out of like hundreds of calls. They would get like, just small percentage hit rates, and it's just very it's wasteful. Yep. In terms of, it's not efficient. Right. So we learned very early on that calling is not, unless you know somebody and it's a friendly, it's probably not it's not a good way for us. So we're trying to use, so that we're product led. That's a big thing that we're doing. Yeah. So our goal is to get a lot of people in the trial. Yeah. We have a free trial. So we're sales lean, and we plan to be. Of course, we will hire salespeople, but the sales part of it will be very lean. I think it will be a lot of customer success, likely. Yeah. Nice. And what we do, even with the connections on LinkedIn, we drive them either, they have the option to go directly into the trial or to have a call with us. It's up to them. Yeah. So we're doing that. And, the other thing that we're doing is, for us, like I'd mentioned earlier, marketplaces. The Chrome store for us is huge. And so our listing at the Chrome store gets a lot of people in our trial. People find us that are having issues, and consumers are actually professionals in organizations. So it's almost like a shadow thing where we put this free tool out. Everybody has internet issues. People find it that want to use it. Some of those people are actually decision makers or coaches within a company. We've been shadow deployed by schools. We just see a district, deploy us to like 2,000 students. Wow. So that marketplace for us is big, and it's cheap. It's free. Yeah. So for us, I think when you're starting a company, you have to find very creative ways of doing it. I think LinkedIn is more traditional, but you can use it creatively. But the marketplace for us was just something very different, because we got all these users, who were now getting into our trial, and some of them ending up to be our customers. So when you really think about this strategy working for us in the beginning, we want to expand that. Now that we have, we know it works, why can't we be in other marketplaces? So we're actually actively looking into getting into other Google Marketplace. We haven't even tapped that at all. So, we're hoping we can get maybe even an additional resource because, we're obviously have so much that we're doing to help us with some of these strategic things that we need to do. Get into marketplaces and partnerships and channel. That stuff that's not, we're not paying for that. It's just hard work and reaching out and filling out forms, going to the websites, filling out forms in the partner program.
Yeah.
And following up and pushing until the door opens.
Exactly. And thanks for sharing all of your experience. There are so many insights that I've been even taking notes of. Particularly one is, the real truth is, it's all hard work. Tap on, as many doors as possible. I'm sure one or the other will open. And constantly, experimenting has been the key for you, which is very, even Amazon way of doing things, or any big tech company, they just, experiment a lot and figure out which is the right fit. And once you figure out the right fit, it's a huge market to go after because we know the target audience that we want to target. It's all about, targeting the right audience, which is very key. And I think one thing that played in your favor is, that extension or, the pool of users that, who gave you the confidence and also the data that you need to make those decisions, be it product and also be, maybe in terms of the persona or helping you make some decisions that are product related. So I think that has been a big win for you, which is very interesting. And also this constant nature of experimentation and also, finding, looping in customers first as with the freemium, because in the sense that the freemium business model, right? In the sense you loop in people and, once that is the key for any startup, which is any company struggles with. How can I get customer to try the product first? So in your case, that I think the extension approach played really well because you are getting a lot of people to try the freemium with very few resources, because typically, not every product can afford, large number of free users as well, right? Because it's costly. But in your case, I think you kept it very lean and also probably maybe self-service. I think that is great. I just see a lot of right decisions that are and in place, and also things are working in your favor. But I'm sure all these are based on a lot of hard work and experimentation, be it with schools or be it with customers, which is very interesting. And I really like the other point about going customer success first instead of the sales. I think is another key point here, because if you start selling, people will repel, right? In the sense they'll be too cautious to try everything. If you are going based on the customer success metric first approach, then they'll get comfortable before they even see the sale, so they know whether they want to go with the product or not. So I really like that approach. Can you give a little more insight into that? What led you? Maybe that seems too obvious, but it's too tempting to make a sale, right? So why did you how did you come to that decision, or what was your thought process behind it?
We wanted to do something different. I think we saw what other companies were doing, and they were very traditional in that how they were going to market.
Yeah. And
product led, customer success first is a differentiator for us, right? You don't have to. I also think we're dealing with a very savvy buyer. IT. Yep. They're smart. They know what they want.
Yep.
And I've been on the other side working for corporate presentation. I've had situations. I think at some point in my career, I would get in a meeting and be like, do you even want to go through the presentation, or do you want to just talk? And most of them would be like, let's just talk. Sure. So they're savvy and they know what they want. And I think giving them control over their decision making is something that we're betting on.
Yep.
Right? Because look at how we're living today.
Yeah.
Look at how we're buying things. Are we actually sitting down and meeting with people in order to buy things, or are we now self-sufficient in how we book hotels,
Yep.
in how we book airlines, vacations? We used to go to travel agencies, right?
Yeah.
But we're savvy. We know with the right tools, we can figure it out on our own. The world has shifted. And the old way of, I think, going to market and selling is also shifting. And we're building for the future. This product is for the future of work,
Yep.
right? And so if we're going to build for the future of work, we have to build something that's different and aligns with that. And so that's why we came up with this strategy, because we know that that's where even sales is going. And so it has to be. And so
Yep.
we want to be prepared and ready for that. We already see the shift, but I think we can see it happening in the future. You know, the other thing too is there's operational advantages then, you know, and cost if we're lean,
Yep.
you know, more profits for us eventually. And then
Exactly.
there's strategy, global, you know, thanks AWS and AWS credits.
Yeah.
Plug.
Yeah.
We are a global company. We have a server in almost every continent. Obviously, you know, apart from like Antarctica and such, we have users everywhere, you know, and the problem is the same. It's very similar, regardless
Yep.
of where you are. So we're positioning ourselves, you know, when we're putting the gas now, we can put the gas anywhere globally. Anybody can find us. Any company can use us, whether you're in Africa, in fact, we have customers in India. We have customers from the UK.
Yeah.
We have an ISP in Africa. We have customers here in the United States, you know, so we're barely tapping the surface, but I think it positions us to be this big global company and have a huge market to tap from.
Yeah, that's great, and I like your thinking big approach, right? In the sense, you have so much belief in the product and you see where it is going, and still it's in the early days, which is the reason you want to make sure that customer success metric is on the top end, so that in the future, whenever a bigger market opens, you are there. You are positioned. I think you are just trying to position yourself with the top layer, going the first customer first approach, which is very crucial. And I kind of see that whatever you are doing is more like how Amazon does things as well. Think big, go customer first, do a lot of experimentation, and try to innovate as much as you can, and be creative, right? Because you said you want to be lean, which also means that you have to be creative in doing things with lot less, right? If you can throw all the money and maybe build something, but you will get more value and better product if you are creative in what you are doing and if you are lean. I think so many interesting correlations with Amazon way of doing things, which also means that you are just in the right path. You are doing so many things the right way. Maybe it's your and Kevian's experience that are coming into play here. Maybe your corporate experience, your intuition, or your ideology is coming into play here, which is very good. Thanks for sharing all of it, Belinda. So I just want to diverge a little bit here.
And Rohit, really quickly, as a founder, I want to give you a big virtual hug, because it's a hard, lonely journey, and to hear you just say that, it's like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course, I totally understand, and all the pain points, and which is another reason that I'm also doing this podcast, because I've been in the scenarios where the startup didn't work, and there are just so many things that can go wrong which you don't even realize, right? Which is the reason I want to I started this podcast, that hey, there is so much value in creating the right content with the right people. So which is the reason I'm doing this, and as I do it, I think I'm not sure how many listeners will learn from this podcast. I really want everyone to learn, but I'm just taking so many things from this podcast. But yeah, I feel you, but I can also see how you are navigating this path in the right way. Cool. And yeah, big virtual hug too.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I think you should have a feature in Hubble IQ where once the problem is resolved, you can give a big virtual hug. Maybe some emojis or icons.
Yes.
I think that will be super cool. Yeah, I think this is the next. I think this will be the next coolest emoji. I guess if we can make it work.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. Cool. I think I know we spoke enough about sales, but I want to dig deeper into it. Maybe I think since we don't have much time, I want to diverge a little bit onto the funding aspect because
Yes.
I wasn't aware that fundraising is different for different races, right? And different genders, and and for it varies for each type of person. I was more, I always thought that it's based on the idea and how good is the idea and how big is the market or the product market fit. But I lately realized that it's there is so much that goes into play. So which is one is being race and gender or have been some of crucial top things that are deciding the funding, which is very unfortunate. But it is what it is, and for us, how we can change it and how we can navigate this process is the only way out, right? Because if we prove so many people wrong, then they start investing more in everyone. It's not just particular to one race or gender, right? So and I want to really congratulate you on the first seed round, successful seed round, which is very big. So and just can you share how you feel now and what was the process that you followed?
Let me tell you. Let's go there, right? I mean, that's a tough journey. I think it's a tough journey for everyone, but like you said, it is tougher for BIPOC people. It's just, it's a fact. It's just tough. Kevin and I have worked in Silicon Valley, and we had an idea. It was tough, but I don't think we really understood until we were in it. You hear the stories of people getting funding based on a napkin, all these things. And well, guess what? They're in some network, or they went to a certain school, or they look a certain way. We don't look a certain way. I'm Black female immigrant. He's, a Black man. We definitely do not fit that profile of people that get funding on an idea. When we started out being in Silicon Valley, we were always used to being sometimes the only different people in groups. We're used to it. So we went in hustling as we always do. Oh, let me tell you, did we get slapped here and there, metaphorically, obviously? It's like, this is so tired. We had to go back and regroup. Like, whoa, okay. This is real. This is a real thing. It's tough for us to raise money. We know we have a good product. And we even with the sales, focus that I have in terms of, hang on, let me just turn this off really quickly. Even with my sales background, the tenacity, we had like these lists of people that we were going to go after, and we did. Well, guess what? It didn't really happen because it just was not resonating with them. It doesn't matter the network. We didn't fit the profile. So, however, I have to say it's a hard thing to hear. No. When you're building something that you love, whatever that metaphor is of like calling your baby ugly. We didn't quite hear that, but we heard a lot of, we need more traction. And we knocked on so many doors and we kept hearing the same thing. Obviously, you have to be an independent thinker and get whatever feedback, but we took some of that in. I'm not going to lie. We went back and we said, okay, what are we going to do? If we can't crack this and they want traction, and even if the bar is higher, if we want to create this, it's either you keep doing the same thing and keep getting no, or just, do something different with assistance. So we knew we've always had to work harder. We knew that this was not going to be any different. We're just going to have to work harder and prove our startup even more so. So we did go back. We stopped fundraising for a while, and we went back and focused on revenue. Revenue. We got our revenue to a point where we're like, okay, we feel like at least we can go back to the drawing board. But wait a minute, before we go back to the drawing board, we were smarter at that point. We were now more narrow in how we were going to go to market. It wasn't just, we wanted to go after, everybody wants the Andreessens and all these people to invest in you, right? I mean, we all have that dream, but that it was apparent that wasn't going to happen. And we wanted to be more narrow. So what I did was I went back and looked at an investor list that was very, very narrow in terms of, do they align with us, future of work? Do they invest in BIPOC? Do they, invest in women? SaaS? I literally spent days just curating a smaller list of investors, days and days and days, going through the website, looking at the companies they've invested in. And not some say, we invest in BIPOC, and it's not true. They just say it, And so, I had to even go to history and see who they've invested in and curate that list, and go on LinkedIn, see who I'm connected with, ask for intros. Some of them didn't pan out. And then people are like, don't waste your time filling out those forms online. Well, I did. I filled out those forms online. I would have lists, days. I would just go and fill out. And they're so lengthy, as you've seen. I'm sure you've done it. And they're long. And I did it because I don't know anyone, but I know this is such a good fit for us. So what am I going to do? I'm going to have to knock on their door somehow. So, and that was my way in. And so we did that. But there's other ways to get funding, apart from the traditional VC, right? So look at other ways. Look at, some people do pitch competitions and grants for women founders, for Black founders. We didn't go that route, but I did the VC route. And then we also tapped into the network to look at, grants. The Impact Accelerator was one of them. Kayvon actually filled that out online. And let me tell you, it was tight financially when that happened. Denise called us and she said, you're in. I literally was almost crying because it was such an exhausting journey. And it gave us some life to keep going. And it's interesting. It's like that came in, and then we had a couple angels come in. We were at the accelerator program, and we got the offer from the VC that we had been talking to, VC group we had been talking to. So here we were, pretty desperate for money, do or die. Amazon comes in, and they were a lifesaver for us because money just doesn't close right away. It took another 3 months for us to close that money. And guess who sustained us? Of course, we had some revenue coming in, but it was AWS, And so it was very timely. And in addition to that, they helped us navigate the due diligence, and all of that. They really rallied around us. I have so much gratitude. We had, Howard was on an email stream with us, and Denise, and all of them. Imagine that, all the executives on email stream saying, "Careful, don't do this, do that, do that." Like they just rallied around us, and it's just like amazing support that we've gotten, and we're forever grateful. But so just in terms of raising, it's not an easy path. Just be narrow. Be intentional in how you're finding these VCs. because you're going to be knocking on the wrong doors, and you're going to be frustrated. And so find the ones that will resonate with what you're doing, with you as a founder, your passion. They're there. You just have to look hard enough and ask the network. Ask BIPOC people that have been funded and got seed too. How did they get funding? And ask them for intros. We did that. So, yeah.
Cool.
Eventually we got to, we got funded, and we're just very, very excited about it.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys too. Because I see, one of, in my network, and particularly in the Black, community, you are one of the few people that I've seen, who raise funds successfully, which is great. I'm really excited for you guys. And I really.
We're still going.
Sorry?
We're still raising. We're still raising.
Yep. Noted. This is such a shiny place to invest, definitely, right? And I hope, definitely if people, listen to this podcast, I'm sure they'll be inspired and they'll know that, you are one of the right person to invest in, because funding is also based on the person, right? It's not just the idea, it's the people that many companies invest in. Because, this conversation had like a lot of insights. Maybe, it just gives such a valuable data points for any investor to listen to the founder and then, make a decision. Maybe you can just use this podcast as one of the references that, hey, if you want to learn more about me, just go to this podcast and listen to all the things that we have done. Maybe you have that. Which also means, and thanks, for, being open with all of this, right? And particularly, with this funding process, one thing that I observed is you reached out to all the investors, fair, no one responded. But the other part is, you went back to the drawing board and figured out, hey, probably we need to, do some things differently. Maybe we need to, approach things differently, right? And then you worked on the product and you built some revenue. And then now you're not going to all those investors again. Now you gained so much confidence, and now you have, so much trust in the product that you're actually in charge of the fundraising now. So you listed, you narrowed down all, list of VCs that you want to work with. Now you are picking and choosing. Earlier it would have been like, hey, invest in our company. No matter who you are, I'm going to work with you because I really need the money. And now you are like, hey man, if you're not our type, I'm not going to work with you. And it's such an important thing for a company, right? I'm glad I'm sure you all are glad that you really didn't get the first investment when you are knocking all the doors, because one wrong investment can give you a lot of trouble as well, right? So now you are picking and choosing the company or the VC that you want to work with. That is great. And again, I've seen, along this conversation, I've observed the resilience, taking the feedback and finding creative ways to get the work done. It's all about getting the work done one or the other way. So I've seen a lot of that in this whole conversation. And obviously this AWS Impact Accelerator, the impact is really, really huge. If one company like yours survives based off of that is a win for the accelerator, because you are going to create so much revenue, and you are going to stand out as an example for many folks who wants to follow the path. So which also means that the community impact of the AWS Accelerator program or the Hubble IQ will go a long way, and we may not even realize it, because you never know whom you are inspiring or who is learning from you. And it can happen in so many ways that we don't even know or realize. But I can totally see that impact of the AWS Impact Accelerator is gonna be huge. And I'm really glad it just worked out for you, because you said that you were really in a need, and I'm glad you just found this opportunity at the right time. And I'm super glad that that was the program I connected with most of the founders that I really want to talk to. Cool. I'm very I have so much gratitude for the AWS Impact program, or for all the founders. It has been such a learning experience for all of us, right?
It really is. I mean, the amount of things you get with accelerator money, it's great.
Yep.
But they really invest, they really try, and they introduce you to, like we're saying, funding is hard, but they bring so many investors to you.
Yep.
They really try.
Yep.
The investor that we had, and we pitched to, I don't know how many, 20 investors in one day.
Yep.
That's something that would take me a month or two
Yep.
to figure out, but I had it in one day. The technical resources that we had, it helped us look at our architecture.
Yep.
I mean, just very valuable. The credits, that is cash technically for us, right?
Yep.
That's money that we're saving, out of our operational expenditure. There's just so much that you get out of it. And even now, they continue investing in you.
Yep.
It's not like, okay, you've been in the accelerator program and it's bye. We hear from, it's like a family. It's so cheesy, but it is like a family.
Yep.
I know I can call like Denise or Keely or Derek. I really can.
Yep.
I know I can. I text with Derek today. The other day, and they really are there for the long haul, and they continue supporting you. And if you have any questions or anything, they're there for you. If there's opportunities that are presented where they can lift you up and introduce you, it's ongoing.
Yep.
And so I am just grateful.
Sure. Yeah, I can totally see the value. It's much more than money. It's network, and finding your tribe to, work with and also to lean on when needed. So that's cool. And I'm really glad we all have that connections and network right now. So, and I know this fundraising has been such a frustrating process for you. Do you, I'm sure many others are going through this and will go through the same process over the time. So do you have any, suggestions for them on where to look or, how to approach the fundraising?
There's a lot of articles out there that will actually give you, if you just Google, if you literally just Google VCs or that invest in BIPOC, there's lists. I was doing that and then creating spreadsheets from that. I wasn't using any tools or paying for anything like that. I would just Google that. And then, through that, I would create a list and just research them. So just, go to Google, see which ones do invest. There's plenty of them. They're out there. There's no fancy tool that I use. I just use the Google.
Yep.
And, it gave me a wealth of these investors. And you brought up a very good point when you said, it's a good thing you didn't get money from the others because now you did with these guys. And this group of people, I'll mention them, Collab Capital. They are amazing people. First of all, I look up to them because they were founders themselves and they walked our journey.
Ooh.
And they know how hard it is, right? And they're paying it forward.
Yep.
Jewel Burke, she still works for Google today, heading their startup program. She's managing partner. Justin, they're really invested in us, and in talking to them, we felt it. Cool. That this is who we want to partner with because they're, of course, it's a fund. They want to make money, but there's a lot of heart in how they approach it and their philosophy. That for us, it just felt like we want to be part of this family, and obviously get the support and the funding that we want.
Cool. Yeah, so it's mostly just the regular process. Hey, Google, and then create the spreadsheets and keep knocking the doors. And it's a lot of hard work, but this really helps you to find your tribe or, find the people that echoes your thought process or values, which is very crucial, right? It sometimes, as I said earlier, if the rejection happens, it's for good. It helps you think, rethink, re-strategize, and find the right opportunity or the right person to work with. Cool. Thanks for sharing it. And also, other part that I want to emphasize is finding a way to get the grants, be it AWS Impact Accelerator or Techstars, or there are so many pitch competitions that can give you some money to survive. So if that is, and that's a free money, which is very very rare. Who will give you the money just to survive, right? So I mean, which is very important, just to go after those, because it also helps with many connections and validation, idea validation, and find the product market fit. So cool. And yeah, thanks for sharing all of this. It's been such a great conversation, and I know we are also over time. Just want to end up with one last question, Belinda, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is a question that I ask every guest on the podcast, and which is a very interesting part of it is, can you help us learn something in 2 minutes that took a very long time for you to learn?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Yep.
I gotta think about this. Learn something in 2 minutes?
Yeah, just share something that took very long time for you to learn. And if you want to think for a minute, feel free to do so. And it can be anything. I'm sure you have so many learnings along the life, right? From Zambia to South Africa to Tanzania to Minnesota. Take startups. Just so much to learn.
So it doesn't have to be work related, right?
Nope.
I don't know.
Anything that comes to your mind and that took long time for you to, crack it or figure out.
Gosh, I don't know if this quite answers the question, but I think for me it's more immersing yourself quickly in. If you're an immigrant and you migrate, immerse yourself very quickly.
Yep.
In society, in that society. Your life is going to be much, much, much easier. Whatever it is that you're gonna do, I don't know, if you're gonna dance, sports, running, do it fast.
Yeah.
It's hard to migrate, and sometimes we sit there. It was a hard lesson for me because I was an immigrant. I was shy. I didn't know quite the culture, so it took at least 2 years for me to really get into it.
Yeah.
But I could have done it quicker. Looking back, I'm like, wait, what was I doing?
Sure.
I think, just go in and start meeting people and assimilating in that society quickly. So I guess that's my 2 cents with that. Don't wait if you're an immigrant. If there's immigrants, just go in it. America is a country of immigrants. Nobody will care. Just find the right people that you're going to connect with and get in it, so you're not sitting there lonely and missing home.
Yep, that's true. That's so true, and I totally echo with you. And if you think 2 years is long, that's wrong. I'm sure 2 years. If you did it in 2 years, that is faster, super fast.
Right?
Yeah. You gotta immerse yourself, and it's not easy. Particularly,
No.
in particularly, I don't know, it hasn't been easy for me. And I think one thing that I realized is it's us who is blocking that. Nobody else is trying to give you the hard time. We are just, confining to ourselves and are trying to find our own community so that, we feel better. But, your suggestion is right. Just go there, talk to people, network, find a way to immerse yourself. Be, what may it take, right? Dance, sport, whatever you find, you're passionate, just do it best and talk to more and more people. That's going to open up so many doors and make your life so much better over time.
Yeah. Look at it, we're talking about your network. Of course you want to hang out with Zambians here and there, but the truth of the matter is most of my friends and people that have provided me, allyship or are not even from Zambia at all. It's everybody from everywhere. You relate at such a common level that you don't, if you go out there and you're authentic and you meet people, you'd be very surprised how much in common you have. So
exactly.
That's your currency. Go out and meet people outside of your bubble.
Exactly. And I like this word, that that network is your currency, and find a way to, build it as much as you can. And I want to echo the other part, right? You going out there and, being authentic, which is this podcast about, be open and authentic. So that will take you to, many places. So, yeah, cool. Thanks for this. Cool. I still have a lot more that I want to talk about, but I think we'll end it here and plan it for some other time. Maybe after another series round, or another fundraise.
Series A.
Series. Cool. You got it. And my other goal for this podcast is to keep bringing guests back and learn from their experience even more, because if you're going through all these crucial experiences, you are actually learning more and more. So, which is what I want to, capture over time and connect all these dots, and how, create such a valuable, journey, and build that valuable journey map with learnings. I think that would be pretty cool. That's what I'm aiming for. We'll see how that goes. Cool.
You will do it. Keep going. You're doing great things.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks, Belinda. That's good to hear. And again, I am so grateful for your time and being open and sharing all those lessons, professional, personal, and all those experiences, right? That is very valuable. I learned a great deal from this episode. I'm sure many people will learn it over the time. And just thank you for, being open and authentic with me on the show. And thanks for your time again. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. With that, that's it for now. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Bye.